Nebraska on the field for practice in Matt Rhule's second spring football season, getting ready to take the field and make sure that everyone knows they're going to be a contender again. No more Big Ten West, but the Big Ten Conference as a whole, as it expands, Nebraska hoping they will be even more competitive on the field of play. And they're not the only ones who have taken the practice field for spring football. But let's start off with the second season for Matt Rhule in Nebraska being out there again because, we were talking about the quarterback meeting rooms here. He's got a very interesting one in Lincoln as well.
I believe Nebraska is the most interesting team going into this Big Ten season because you look at the record and certainly 5-7 isn't good enough, right? That's not good enough for Matt Rhule. That's not good enough for the Cornhusker fans. But then you start to peel back the layers and you say, man, Tony White had that defense significantly improved. Right. 9 of their 12 games last year, they held opponents to under 20 points per game. You can win a lot of games with your defense playing like that. I think the defense is going to be good. And now you bring in Dylan Raiola. Will he be the quarterback or not? I think that's, of course, going to be the headline. But when you think about this quarterback battle, the way I'm looking at this, it's not about what these guys are going to add. It's about removing those mistakes. They've been one of the worst football teams in terms of giving the ball away and turnover margin. That is the #1 statistic to winning or losing. So you got a freshman quarterback that you want to seize the #1 spot, but he's got to avoid making those freshman mistakes. That'll be the biggest difference for Nebraska.
Well, let's talk about Luke Fickell. His second year then in Madison with the Badgers, expectations always high. And so in year 2, you would imagine Wisconsin fans will expect an even better product on the field.
It should be. Context matters. It's a complete overhaul of their systems last year, right? You go from 22, 23 personnel, fullbacks, tight ends, to more of an air raid system. It was good, not great, sometimes, average at times. So can you make that jump here in year 2? You'd expect it. You go from a 3-4 defensive scheme to a more 3-3-5, kind of what they ran at Cincinnati. Would you expect a jump in year 2? I absolutely do, and I think Fickell's a phenomenal coach. I'll give him some credit there in year 1. It's tough to overhaul your roster and your system, but you would love to see a jump here in year 2.
I'd say in West Lafayette, maybe some of the peaks of Purdue were really high. Some of the valleys were kind of low for Ryan Walters also. So you'd imagine he's going to look for more consistency from his team in year 2.
And that's what he said in some of his spring practice pressers is he's like, man, we were hot and cold at times. The defense was good, and then occasionally they just give up these big plays that would just kill them. It's tough to overcome. And you look at the offensive side of the football, we were so excited to see Hudson Card. And yet he got beat up. He's injured. He took a number of hits last season. Well, he's put on about 20 pounds. He's bigger. He's stronger. The O-line should be revamped. Another thing to point out here, Anthony, this time last year they had about 60 guys, scholarship guys on their roster. They couldn't even do a traditional spring game. Think about that. Year 1, that's tough to overcome. Now they're at that 100, 102 spot, I believe, of scholarship players. So once again, you start to see this jump. I'm really excited for Ryan Walters, again, installing his system. Excited to see Hudson Card with this new added weight. They're a team just to keep an eye on here in the Big Ten Conference. If Ryan Walters can get that defense playing how he did at Illinois, they'll be a competitor.
There's no doubt about that, man. An aggressive style schematically on each side of the ball. And then having a year under your belt going into the spring for Purdue, for Ryan Walters, that young, energetic coaching staff. A lot of expectations in West Lafayette with good reason. A lot of expectations for all those second-year head coaches for what they're going to do. Looking forward to talking about that as they all take the field this coming weekend. As it relates to today's show, my thanks to Jake Butts, to Trent Meacham. I'm Anthony Herron, and this has been Big Ten Today.